I've been working my way through the book of Ecclesiastes, following the flow of thought through the book. We are now in chapter 9, verse 13, and I want to complete chapter 10. I've entitled this, Wisdom is Often Not Heeded, in 9:13 to 16, and the difference between wisdom and folly in chapter 10. Let me just read the text. This wisdom, the writer says, have I seen also under the sun. He's continuing to pick up what he had been previously discussing in chapter 9. And it seemed great unto me. There was a little city, and few men within it, and there came a great king against it, and besieged it, and built great bulwarks against it. Now there was found in it a poor wise man, and he by his wisdom delivered the city. Yet no one remembered the poor man. Then said I, Wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard. The words of a wise man are heard in quiet, more than the cry of him who rules among fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good. This I have seen, the Kohelet says, about wisdom under the sun, and it seemed great to me. There was this little city, he says, and there were few men in it, and there came a great king against it. He besieged it, and he built great bulwarks against the city. In that city there was a poor and wise man who by his wisdom was able to deliver the city. Yet no one even remembered the poor man after the fact. So I said that even wisdom is not appreciated. Often I said wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised and not appreciated, and his words are really not listened to. So he concludes then, having given that observation with a thought in verses 17 and 18. The words of the wise, spoken in private, are more acceptable than the cry of a ruler among fools. It is better to hear the quietness of the words of the wise, much more acceptable than the shout of a ruler among fools. Wisdom, then, is better than all weapons of war, Kohelet says, but it only takes one sinner to destroy everything. One who goes against the Lord can cause chaos. It only takes one, he is saying, to destroy the great wisdom that is better than all the strength that one could see around. Still, only one act by one sinner can destroy much of the good, Kohelet is saying, that comes from that wisdom. So that finishes chapter 9. And I'm now going on to chapter 10, where we see the difference between wisdom and folly. Chapter 10 will give a number of examples of the contrast. It's almost like Proverbs in the way that it is written. Dead flies, and I'll read the text and then we'll come back and talk about it. Dead flies cause the ointment of the apothecary to send forth a stinking savor. So doth a little wisdom, a little folly that is in reputation for wisdom and honor. A wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart is at his left. Yea, also, when he that is a fool walks by the way, his wisdom fails him, and he says to everyone that he is a fool. If the spirit of the ruler rise up against you, leave not your place, for yielding pacifies great offenses. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an error which proceeds from the ruler. Folly is set in great dignity, and rich set in a low place. I have seen servants upon horses, and princes walking as servants upon the earth. He that digs a pit shall fall into it, and whosoever breaks a hedge, a serpent shall bite him. Whosoever removes stones shall be hurt therewith, and he that cleaves wood shall be endangered thereby. If the iron be blunt, he does not whet the edge, then must he put more strength, but wisdom is profitable to direct. Surely the serpent will bite without enchantment, and a babbler is no better. The words of a wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool will swallow up himself. The beginning of the words of his mouth is foolishness, and the end of his talk is mischievous madness. A fool also is full of words. A man cannot tell what shall be and what shall be after him. Who can tell him? The labor of the foolish wearies every one of them, because he knows not how to go to the city. Woe to you, O land, when your king is a child, and your princes eat in the morning. Blessed are you, O land, when your king is the son of nobles, and your princes eat in due season for strength and not for drunkenness. By much slothfulness the building decays, and through idleness of the hands the house drops through. A feast is made for laughter, and wine makes merry, but money answers all things. A lot of times people can take a text out of context like this and miss what the Kohelet is trying to say. But we'll get into the interpretation in just a moment. Curse not the king, no, not in your thought, and curse not the rich in your bedchamber. For a bird of the air shall carry the voice, and that which has wings shall tell the matter. This is the text that I read, and you can see it's one proverb after another. Let me now endeavor to try to interpret these proverbs. First, dead flies make the ointment of the perfumer to be putrid, that which is not pleasant. So does a little folly weigh much heavier than honor. It only takes a dead fly in an ointment to bring about a change in the ointment. It then smells badly. So it only takes a little folly to outweigh all wisdom and honor that one might see or have. A wise man's understanding is at his right hand, but a fool's is at his left. In the ancient world, interpreting that parable, the left hand was the weaker hand, the right hand was the stronger. A fool's understanding is in the left hand, that is the weaker hand. A wise man's understanding is in the stronger hand. He uses wisdom to strengthen truth and his own life. When a fool walks by the way, another thought parable or proverb, his understanding fails him, and he says to everyone that he is a fool. There are ways then in the way people act, the Kohelet is saying, that indicate whether they are wise or foolish. A foolish person acts in a way that often defines who he is. There is a conduct, then, as he goes on, that is important to those that are despotic rulers. If the spirit of the ruler would rise up against you, do not leave your place. Do not have words that would be hurtful to you, for gentleness heals great offenses, the Kohelet says, or brings great offenses to rest. What he is saying, it is better to be careful and not to have a quick temper toward a ruler who has authority against you. Furthermore, there is an evil, he says, that I have seen under the sun, as an air which proceeds from a ruler. That often in this observation I have seen that folly is set on great heights and the rich set in low places. I have seen servants on horses, he says, and princes walking as servants upon the earth. As I look around, the Kohelet is saying, I see the opposite of what should be. That is, as I look around, I find folly in high places and rich setting often in low places. And it should be reversed. Sometimes I see servants upon horses and princes walking as servants when you would expect the reverse. So many times in life, he says, I have seen the reversal of what should normally be expected. He then goes on in verse 8 and following to give some practical applications of wisdom. He says, he who digs a pit shall fall into it, and whosoever breaks through a wall, a serpent will bite him. If you're going to dig a pit, I think the Kohelet is saying, be careful that you do not fall into it. And one who breaks a fence needs to be careful about a serpent that may be lodging there. Furthermore, whoever quarries stones will be hurt with it, and he that cleaves wood is also in danger. In other words, you have to be careful, he's saying. So again, if you are going to cut stones, be careful and do not cut yourself. If the iron is blunt, in cutting then, in order to get the best result, he goes on to say, it is better to sharpen the blunt iron. Then he can use wisdom profitably in helping the iron do its job. Furthermore, as he continues these proverbs, if a serpent would bite before it is charmed, then the charmer has no advantage. The same is true with wisdom. If wisdom is not applied until after the fact, whatever that is, then there is no advantage to it. Further, the words of the wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of the fool will swallow him. We need to have our words thought out and make sure they are gracious to those that we speak, he's saying. The lips of fools, however, will swallow up oneself by saying things that are not edifying to others and can lead to the demise of the one who said it. Notice he writes, the beginning of the words of his mouth are foolishness, and the end of his talk is grievous madness. When one multiplies words without thinking of what one is saying, the Kohelet then says that this is foolishness and ends up in madness. A fool goes on multiplying words, yet man knows not what shall be, uh, and also what shall be after him. Who can really tell him? In other words, we can't figure out tomorrow. Often a person can try to predict tomorrow or try to figure out the future, but Kohelet is saying, who knows what shall be after him? Who knows what shall be after him? Only one can tell what is after him, and that is the Lord. The Lord alone knows the future. The labor of fools, then, furthermore, wearies every one of them, for he knows not how to go to the city. It is sort of like some people say a fool does not know how to come out of the rain. That's what I think he's saying here, using the analogy of going to a city. Here, he does not even know how to go to a city. Now, the Kohelet is going to speak about the negative government rule over a land and the danger of effect on the land when that happens. Woe to you, O land, when your boy is a king and your princes feast in the morning. The meaning is not the time of feasting. It might be, it is night. So woe to you when your land then is run by immature people, he's saying, and just want to party all night long or all the time. Happy are you, O land, when your king is a free man and your princes eat in due season for strength and not for drunkenness. So he is saying a land is happy when the king of that land is a free man, not bound to others, and the princes of that land are not eating at an improper time, but eat when they should eat. They are not drunken, but they are doing their job. A land that experiences that is a happy land, the Kohelet is saying. He goes on then to describe what the land is like when this is not the case, the effect of bad rule upon the land. By slothfulness, the rafters sink in, he says, and through idleness the hands of the house leaks. So it is with government of a land, he's writing, Kohelet is saying. It's like a house. It can begin to leak because of slothfulness. He says then, a feast is made for laughter, and wine makes glad the life, and money answers all things. Here he is quoting what the bad rulers of this land are saying. They say, by their lifestyle, that a feast is made to simply laugh and hang out, and wine makes glad the heart, so let's drink wine and enjoy a perpetual party. Additionally, money answers all things. It is the answer to everything these people are saying, Kohelet is saying. This is not a positive statement, though. This is the statement of the bad rulers over the land and how they think. This is their philosophy, and of course, each one of these statements are contradicted by the truth. So, we should not take a verse, by the way, like this out of context, as though wine makes glad the life and money answers all things. But this is the attitude of those leaders of the land who are partying all the time rather than doing their work, is the Kohelet's point. Following this, the Kohelet ends this chapter with a warning. Curse not the king, not in thought, curse not in your bedchamber, for a bird of the air shall carry your voice, and that which has wings will tell the matter. Be careful, he's saying, what you say, even in the privacy of your home, where you never know whether there will be a little birdie around who will hear it and carry your voice much further than you ever wanted it to go. So he concludes by saying, be careful to not curse the king in any way that might get back to him. We do need to be careful in our speech in a way in which we share and talk with others and not have a condemnatory attitude. So I'm going to stop there and we'll continue to talk our way through the Kohelet. Boy, I got sleepy.